There was an unexpected guest at Robert's funeral. Charlie had been missing for 3 days, but he arrived just in time for the ceremony. He stood by the casket and began acting like he was searching for something. But what Charlie was looking for concealed a secret more powerful than death itself. Robert Henderson's death had shocked everyone. The 78-year-old retired farmer had passed away from a heart attack. But the real shock was the disappearance of his dog, Charlie. Charlie was an 8-year-old golden retriever. His bond with Robert was so strong that they were inseparable. Wherever Robert went, Charlie followed. They worked together on the farm and watched television together in the evenings. On the day Robert had his heart attack, Charlie had stayed by his master's side until the ambulance arrived. When the paramedics took Robert to the hospital, Charlie had tried to run after them. But animals weren't allowed in the hospital. Robert's daughter Sarah had been forced to take Charlie home. "Don't worry, Charlie," Sarah had said, stroking the dog's head. "Dad will get better and come home." But Robert didn't get better. He passed away 3 days later in the hospital. Sarah didn't know how to prepare to break the bad news to Charlie. When she came home, she couldn't find the dog anywhere. Charlie had disappeared. Charlie. Charlie. Sarah had searched the entire farm. Neighbors had joined the search efforts too. But there was no trace of Charlie. 3 days passed. Preparations for the funeral had begun, but Charlie still couldn't be found. "Dad wouldn't want to be buried without Charlie," Sarah cried. That dog was the only thing Dad loved more than life itself. Neighbor farmer Tom Wilson was also worried. "Charlie has never been missing this long. What if something happened to him?" But nobody knew where Charlie was. It was as if he had vanished into thin air. When the funeral day arrived, Sarah was hopeless. Her father would be laid to rest, but his most loyal friend wouldn't even be able to say a final goodbye. The search had been exhaustive. They had checked every barn, every field, every neighbor's property for miles around. Charlie had simply disappeared without a trace, leaving everyone wondering if grief had driven him to wander off and get lost, or worse. Sarah had barely slept for 3 nights, torn between mourning her father and worrying about Charlie. The two losses seemed unbearable together. Robert had always said Charlie was more than a pet, he was family. And now both her father and his beloved companion were gone. The funeral service at Woodlawn Cemetery was one of the largest gatherings the small town had ever seen. Robert Henderson was loved by everyone. Farmer neighbors, former colleagues, townspeople. Everyone had come to pay their final respects to Robert. As Pastor Williams gave his speech, Sarah sat in the front row crying quietly. Her brother Michael, sitting beside her, was trying to comfort her. "Dad lived a happy life," Michael whispered. "And now he's with Mom." Sarah nodded, but her eyes kept scanning the cemetery entrance. She hoped maybe Charlie would show up at the last minute. The casket stood on a metal platform decorated with flowers. Blue and white flowers, Robert's favorite colors, surrounded it. As Pastor Williams shared memories from Robert's life, there was suddenly movement at the cemetery entrance. At first, nobody noticed. But then, a golden dog silhouette appeared. He was walking slowly into the cemetery. "Charlie." Sarah's heart raced. "Charlie," she whispered, but she didn't want to disturb the dog. Charlie walked with determined steps, as if he knew exactly where to go. He moved through the crowd, paying no attention to anyone. He came straight to the casket. And at that moment, everyone held their breath. The mourners watched in amazement as Charlie approached. His coat was dirty and matted, showing signs of his 3-day absence. His usual bright demeanor was replaced by something more solemn, more purposeful. Pastor Williams paused mid-sentence, uncertain whether to continue. The entire congregation turned their attention to the golden dog who had appeared like a spirit from nowhere. Charlie moved with an intelligence that seemed almost human. His steps weren't those of a confused, grieving pet. They were deliberate, methodical. He had come here for a specific reason, and everyone sensed they were about to witness something extraordinary. When Charlie reached the casket, he stopped. He lifted his head to look at the casket, then sniffed it. As if he was confirming that Robert was really inside. Then he did something strange. He began circling the casket. Once, twice, 3 times. He was exploring different parts of the casket with his paws. Pastor Williams had to pause his speech. Everyone was watching Charlie. "Someone should remove the dog," whispered elderly Mrs. Thompson. But Sarah stood up. "No," she said firmly. "Charlie is Dad's dog. He has the right to be here." When Charlie reached one corner of the casket, he stopped. He began sniffing intensely there. Then he started pawing at that spot. What is he looking for? Tom Wilson wondered. Charlie's behavior was becoming increasingly determined. As if he knew there was something important at that spot. Funeral director James Morton wanted to take control of the situation. He approached Charlie, but the dog didn't even notice him. All his attention was on that corner of the casket. "It's like he's searching for something," Sarah said curiously. And Charlie really was searching for something. But what? The dog had found a small protrusion on the metal surface of the casket. He pressed that protrusion with his paw. At that moment, something nobody expected happened. The metallic click that followed would change everything they thought they knew about Robert's final wishes. Charlie's persistent investigation had revealed something that even the funeral director didn't know existed. The mourners leaned forward, their grief momentarily replaced by curiosity. What had Robert hidden in his own casket? And how did Charlie know exactly where to look? Sarah felt her heart pounding as she realized her father had planned something extraordinary. Even in death, Robert was still full of surprises, still taking care of the ones he loved most. A small, click sound was heard where Charlie pressed with his paw. And a secret compartment opened on the side of the casket. Everyone watched in amazement. What was this casket? And what was hidden inside? Funeral director James Morton was also surprised. "I didn't know this casket had a secret compartment," he said. Sarah approached curiously. There was a small box in the secret compartment. An old, wooden box. Charlie nudged the box with his paw, then looked at Sarah. As if he was saying, "Take this." Sarah took the box with trembling hands. There was a note written in her father's handwriting on top. "If Charlie manages to find me, this box should be opened. Everything inside belongs to him." Sarah's eyes filled with tears. Her father had prepared something for Charlie before he died. But how did he know Charlie would find this secret compartment? What she saw when she opened the box surprised everyone. Inside was Charlie's favorite toy. A small, plush cat. It had been missing for years and Charlie had searched for it so much. But that wasn't all. There was also a letter. Sarah began reading the letter aloud. "Dear Charlie, if you're hearing this letter, it means you found me. I knew you would find me because you're the smartest dog. I was hiding this toy because I wanted to surprise you. But it looks like the surprise turned out differently." Sarah's voice was trembling, but she continued. "Charlie, you're my best friend. And I want you to become Sarah's best friend from now on. Give her the love I gave you. Protect her, be loyal to her. Because you're not just a dog, Charlie. You're a member of our family." The revelation sent murmurs through the gathering. Robert had planned this entire scenario, knowing somehow that Charlie would find his way to the funeral and locate the hidden compartment. But the letter wasn't finished. As Sarah continued reading, it became clear that Robert's planning had been far more extensive than anyone imagined. This wasn't just a sentimental gesture, it was the beginning of a carefully orchestrated plan that would change both Charlie's and Sarah's lives forever. The letter continued. "Charlie, do you remember this secret compartment? We worked on it together for years. You watched, I built it. Because I knew one day we would need it. Sarah looked at her father's casket in amazement. When had Robert made this plan? I've been devising this plan since the day my heart problem started. Because I didn't even want to think about leaving Charlie behind. But I knew that if something happened, Charlie would find me. Because he's not an ordinary dog. The funeral crowd listened in silence. Many people's eyes had filled with tears. You're wondering how Charlie got here, aren't you? The letter continued. Charlie found me through scent. Thanks to what I put inside this casket. Sarah asked curiously, what did you put in there, Dad? The letter explained, I put my favorite shirt inside my casket. The one Charlie loves most, the one we worked together on the farm in. That scent drew Charlie here. Tom Wilson was amazed. Robert planned all this before he died. But this doesn't end here, the letter continued. Charlie will live with you, Sarah. But there's a special way to take care of him. Sarah waited curiously. You'll need to let Charlie smell the soil I brought from the farm every evening. Because that soil is the scent of our memories. And Charlie must never forget those memories. What other instructions could these contain? The letter revealed that Robert had spent months preparing for this moment. He had studied Charlie's behavior, understanding the dog's incredible sense of smell and loyalty. Every detail had been carefully planned to ensure Charlie would not only find him but would also transition to his new life with Sarah. The funeral attendees were witnessing something unprecedented, a man who had managed to communicate with his beloved pet from beyond the grave, ensuring that their bond would continue even after death. The letter contained even more interesting details. Sarah, Charlie has special abilities. Don't see him as just a house dog. He's a search and rescue trained dog. Sarah was surprised. Search and rescue? When? When I found Charlie as a young dog, his previous owner had abandoned him. But that dog had received special training. I just healed him with love. Now it's your turn. Funeral director James Morton was also listening. So this dog isn't a normal dog. Charlie can find missing people. He can sense illnesses. He can anticipate dangers. I observed these abilities for years. Sarah looked at Charlie. The dog looked at her as if saying, yes, I have these abilities. There are many people in our town who will need Charlie's help. Don't just keep him at home. He was created for a greater purpose. Pastor Williams interjected, Robert thought of everything. Charlie's favorite food is lamb. But don't give him too much, he gains weight easily. Keep his water always clean. And most importantly, tell him every day how much I loved him. Sarah hugged Charlie with tears in her eyes. Of course I'll tell him. But the last part of the letter was the most surprising section. The detailed instructions revealed that Robert had been observing Charlie's natural abilities for years. The dog's uncanny ability to sense when someone was unwell, his talent for tracking scents across vast distances, his intelligence that seemed almost supernatural, Robert had documented it all. This wasn't just a pet owner's final wishes. This was a comprehensive guide for unlocking Charlie's potential to help others, ensuring that the dog's remarkable gifts wouldn't be wasted after Robert's passing. The continuation of the letter amazed everyone. Sarah, Charlie will show you something else from this box. But you'll only open it at home. Not here. Sarah looked at the box more carefully. There was another small envelope at the bottom. It had, under the house, written on it. Charlie will take you to the right place at home. Because there's a real surprise I've hidden for you there. Tom Wilson asked curiously, what surprise? Only Charlie knows this secret. And he'll take you to the right place. Trust him, Sarah. He's never wrong. Charlie was wagging his tail while listening to the letter. As if he understood what was being said and approved. But be careful, Sarah. Don't share this secret with anyone. Only you and Charlie will know. Because this is our family secret. Sarah was burning with curiosity. What had her father hidden at home? And remember, Sarah. Charlie isn't just your dog. He's the most valuable inheritance I'm leaving you. Treat him that way." The letter seemed finished, but Charlie was still standing by the casket. As if there was still something he needed to do. And there really was. The promise of another secret created an atmosphere of anticipation that transcended the somber funeral setting. Robert had orchestrated not just Charlie's immediate future, but had created a treasure hunt that would bond Sarah and Charlie together in their shared grief and curiosity. The mourners watched as Charlie remained by the casket, his behavior suggesting he knew exactly what came next in Robert's carefully planned sequence of events. After listening to the letter, Charlie came to the head of the casket. He placed his paw where Robert lay inside the casket, as if touching him. Then he made a low sound, almost human-like, a sound full of pain. This wasn't just a dog sound. This was a farewell sound. Everyone watched in silence. Charlie's moment of saying goodbye to Robert. The dog put his head on the casket and stayed like that for several minutes. As if he wanted to be by his master's side one last time. Then he got up and walked toward Sarah. He looked at her and wagged his tail. The message was clear, "I'm with you now." The funeral continued, but the atmosphere had completely changed. This wasn't just a death ceremony. This was also the first day of a new beginning. As Pastor Williams finished his speech, he said, "Robert's spirit will continue to live in Charlie." As the casket was lowered into the ground, Charlie stood at the edge. With each shovel of dirt thrown, he nodded his head. As if saying, "Goodbye, old friend." And when the grave was completed, Charlie sniffed Robert's grave one last time. Then he turned to Sarah. Now his new life could begin. The ritual of farewell was complete, but it wasn't an ending. Charlie's behavior throughout the ceremony had demonstrated that Robert's love and planning extended beyond death itself. The dog's dignified goodbye was both heartbreaking and hopeful, a bridge between the life that was ending and the life that was about to begin. As the mourners began to disperse, many approached Sarah to offer condolences and express amazement at what they had witnessed. But Sarah's attention was focused entirely on Charlie, who stood patiently beside her, ready for whatever came next. When Sarah and Charlie returned to Robert's farmhouse, there was a strange silence. The house was filled with Robert's scent and memories, but he was no longer there. Charlie wandered around the house. He entered every room, sniffed every corner. As if checking whether Robert was still here. Then he came to Sarah and showed her the envelope. "Yes, Charlie," Sarah said. "We need to find what Dad hid." Charlie immediately sprang into action. He led Sarah to the back of the house. There was a small basement door there. "The basement, Charlie. What did Dad hide there?" Charlie scratched the door with his paw. Sarah opened the door and went downstairs. The basement smelled dark and damp. But Charlie was determined. He led Sarah to the farthest corner of the basement. There, embedded in the wall, was a small safe. "My God," Sarah whispered. "Did Dad leave us a safe?" Charlie wagged his tail. Then he sat next to the safe and waited. Sarah examined the safe. There was a small plaque on it, "Charlie's Future." What could the safe's combination be? The basement felt like a time capsule, filled with Robert's tools and farm equipment from decades of work. But the safe was clearly a recent addition, installed specifically for this moment. Charlie's confident navigation through the basement suggested he had been down here many times before, watching Robert prepare this final surprise. Sarah realized that every detail of this day had been planned months, maybe even years in advance. Robert's illness had given him time to prepare, and he had used every moment to ensure Charlie's future would be secure and meaningful. While Sarah tried to figure out the safe's combination, Charlie waited patiently. She tried several combinations but it wouldn't open. Then an idea occurred to her. Robert's birth date? No. The date Charlie arrived? That wasn't it either. Then she looked at Charlie. The dog seemed to be trying to give her a clue. He pointed to the bottom of the safe with his paw. When Sarah lifted the safe, she saw a small piece of paper underneath. It had only 4 numbers on it, 1225. Christmas Day. Sarah murmured. She entered the code and the safe opened. The contents shocked Sarah. There was money. A lot of money. Tens of thousands of dollars. But that wasn't all. There was also a note. Sarah, this money is for Charlie's training. He will become a professional search and rescue dog. And you will become his trainer. Sarah read in amazement, me? I'm not a dog trainer. Don't worry. Charlie will teach you. He already knows everything. He just needs to trust you. The note continued, this money is to establish a dog training center in our town. Charlie will start, and you'll train other dogs too. Sarah looked at Charlie. You really are a very special dog. And remember, Sarah. This isn't just a job. This is your and Charlie's shared mission. To save people, to change lives. There was one more sentence in the note, trust Charlie. He will never mislead you. The revelation transformed Sarah's understanding of her father's final plan. This wasn't just about taking care of Charlie, it was about creating a legacy that would serve their entire community. Robert had seen Charlie's potential and had invested in a future where that potential could flourish. The amount of money suggested this wasn't a spontaneous decision. Robert had been saving and planning for years, watching Charlie's natural abilities and envisioning how they could be channeled to help others. The following months were full of change for Sarah and Charlie. Sarah researched dog training and consulted with experts. Charlie began to demonstrate his natural abilities. When neighbor farmer Tom Wilson's grandson went missing, Charlie found him. He sensed that elderly Mrs. Thompson was going to have a heart attack and raised the alarm. The townspeople began to notice Charlie's special abilities. This dog is a miracle, Tom Wilson would say. How did Robert train him? Sarah would smile, actually, Robert didn't train Charlie. Charlie was born with these abilities. Robert just loved him. The dog training center project developed rapidly. Sarah established a small facility with Robert's money. With Charlie's help, she began training other dogs too. But most importantly, a strong bond was formed between Sarah and Charlie. As Robert had planned, they had become true friends. Every evening, Sarah would let Charlie smell the farm soil as Robert had requested. And every time, she saw peace in Charlie's eyes. Dad loved you so much, Charlie, Sarah would say. And I love you so much too. The transformation was remarkable. Sarah discovered she had a natural talent for working with dogs, guided by Charlie's patient demonstrations and her father's detailed notes. The training center became a beacon of hope for the community, with Charlie serving as both instructor and inspiration. Local law enforcement began requesting Charlie's assistance with missing person cases. His success rate was extraordinary, confirming Robert's assessment of his abilities. But more than his skills, it was Charlie's gentle demeanor and unwavering dedication that made him special. 2 years passed. Sarah and Charlie's training center had become one of the most successful centers in the region. Dozens of dogs had been trained, hundreds of lives had been saved. Charlie was now 10 years old, but he was still strong and intelligent. He followed Sarah everywhere, remaining loyal to her. And every year on the anniversary of Robert's death, the two of them would go to the cemetery together. Charlie would sit by Robert's grave and wait quietly, as if giving updates to his old friend. Look, Robert, Sarah would say. The dogs Charlie trained found 5 people this month. You would have been proud of him. Charlie would wag his tail, as if feeling Robert's pride. The townspeople had begun to see Sarah and Charlie as heroes. But Sarah knew the real hero was Robert. He had managed to protect his loved ones even after death. And Charlie. Charlie wasn't just a loyal dog. He was Robert's legacy. The living proof of his love, planning, and vision. Every night before bed, Sarah would stroke Charlie's head and whisper, "Good night, Charlie. Dad is proud of you." And Charlie would close his eyes and sleep peacefully. Because he knew Robert's love hadn't ended with death. That love continued to live in Charlie, in Sarah, and in every life they saved. Robert's plan was perfect. Not even death could stop this love. And the story continued. The training center had expanded beyond anyone's imagination. Dogs came from neighboring states to train with Charlie and Sarah. The methodology they developed, based on love, trust, and recognizing each dog's natural abilities, became a model for training centers across the country. Charlie's own skills never diminished with age. If anything, his experience made him an even better teacher and rescue dog. He had found over 50 missing people in 2 years, each rescue adding to the legend that Robert had envisioned. But perhaps most remarkably, Charlie had never shown signs of the grief and confusion that might be expected from a dog who had lost his beloved owner. Robert's careful planning and the continuity of purpose had given Charlie not just a new home, but a new mission that honored his bond with Robert while creating new bonds with Sarah and the community they served. The secret compartment in the casket had been the first surprise, but it led to a lifetime of purpose that neither death nor time could diminish. Robert's love had created something eternal, a legacy that would continue to save lives and bring hope to families for generations to come. Charlie and Robert's story shows us that true love doesn't end with death. Thinking ahead for our loved ones, protecting them, and securing their futures is our greatest expression of love. Robert's plan for Charlie wasn't just about protecting a dog. It was about ensuring that his love and legacy would be passed on to future generations. If this story has touched your heart, please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Because in the magical world of animals, many more touching stories await you. Share your own loyal companion stories with us in the comments. Did they change your life too? Until we meet in the next video. Because the most beautiful love stories continue to live forever in our hearts.